Hello and welcome to this episode of Snapshots. And this week I've got another fantastic photographer and vlogger with me, and his name is Justyn Crane. Hello, Justyn. How are you?
Hi Gary, I'm really well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to be able to speak to you.
No, anytime, mate. It's always a pleasure. You know, we've chatted before a couple of times, haven't we? So it's
Yeah,
always nice to talk to you. So for those people who don't know who you are and what you do, give us a little brief description of your channel.
I'm a kind of landscape photographer slash wildlife slash sports slash most stuff. Based in Herefordshire, so just on the back of the Malvern Hills. If you're going up and down the M5, you'll see them as in between Gloucester and Worcester. Yeah, and I've kind of been vlogging for about just over a year, I guess.
Cool. Okay. So my first question, as I ask everyone, is when did you start photography and why?
Do you know, I knew you were going to ask this question.
Hmm.
And I was thinking back, and I suddenly realised that I've probably been doing photography for about 40 years on and off. And the first time I can remember was in the 80s. I used to go on holiday with my mate to France. And do you remember the Pentax 110 cameras? They were like lozenge shaped.
Oh
Quite,
yeah. Yeah.
I had one of those. And so every time we went on holiday, I would take maybe 3 films, come back, and I don't even have the photos anymore. I don't know what happened to them, but you kind of go, oh, actually, I was taking photos ages ago, going around all these places like the Dordogne and seeing all these fantastic villages, going, oh, I'll take a photo of that. I think it's really started then, and I drifted out of it. I get most people do in their teenage years, they've got better things to do. And it really came back, I guess, when we had kids, and I got another camera and you got the kids, and then my kids started doing sport, and the cameras I had just couldn't keep up with, like, my son playing rugby. So I was like, right, I need to do something about this. So I got a DSLR, and then you then go, oh, well, I can do landscapes, I can take it on holiday. And suddenly you're back into, oh, I take photos.
Okay, so you got into it there, and you've been doing it for a while. I know you were a viewer of a lot of channels previously before you started vlogging, because I
Yeah.
remember you commenting on several of mine before you started vlogging. So what was it that made you start vlogging? Which was what, about a year ago, was it?
Yeah, it was actually during lockdown, and I actually paid to go out with the Archbishop of Anglesey, Dave Griffiths. And I went out for the day, and he said, well, why don't you vlog? And I was like, that'd be stupid. And he went, no, you could do it. I was like, oh, and I went, yeah, I'm just going to do this on Instagram. And then it sat there in the back, and it just wheedled away. You should have a go at vlogging. You should have a go. I was like, shut up. And I started thinking about it. I went, well, actually, I could have a crack, I suppose. And so that that spurred me to go, right, I'll have a go. What happens, happens. What's the worst that can happen at sea? And that kind of where the germ of it. So yeah, blame Dave Griffiths. He's never going to see this.
He will,
But he won't.
He will.
He,
I'm going to tell him that you've mentioned him, so he definitely will.
no, he'll want a fee. He'll want a fee. You know what he's like. But then it I got going, and then actually when I was out with Dave, when he had one of his meetups in Snowdonia, and somebody said, oh, I don't know what to vlog, and he just went, well, vlog because you want to record it for yourselves. If nobody watches it. And I was like, actually, do you know what, that's a fair point. I'll vlog what I want when I want. I'm not going to have a schedule, and it's because I want to record it. And it actually, on the day, if I go, do you know what, this is for me, I don't care. If I don't record something special because it's for me, then it's for me, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I started to really doing it for myself, and for my kids to watch, and maybe my grandkids. Say, Granddad was younger once and thinner. So,
Yeah.
I totally get that. So how many videos have you made now?
Less than 20.
Right. Okay. So
It's 15-ish. Yeah.
all right. So if someone said, or you wanted to, someone said, what is your channel about? What video would you show them? So one video that you've done, what would you show them to say, this is what I'm about?
I don't know, because actually the one that's really kicked off, and the ones, because I had about 3 subscribers. You might have been the first, actually. I should
Yeah,
get you a
possibly.
prize.
Yeah,
I
possibly.
probably need to get you a prize, like a packet of Rolos. I think some of the ones I did, like on the Malverns, because it's local, but actually the one that's kicked it off is the Kingfishers, which is not landscape, but suddenly, you know, I've gone from 3 subscribers to 60, which is, I was like, that blew my mind. And I've got nearly 2,000 views on this video of photos of kingfishers, and I was like, wow, I didn't see that one coming.
People are interested in wildlife.
Yeah,
It's surprising, you know, if you were doing it purely from a standpoint of trying to get more eyes on your videos, wildlife's the way to go. I think that's my wildlife videos are often more popular than my landscape ones.
yeah. I think some of the stuff, like I did a couple of short ones about the lakes, and just kind of I did my whole lake strip in like one go, because that's, you know, I love that northwest bit of the lakes is actually where I'm kind of a bit zen, because it's just nice and peaceful and quiet, and there's the hills but there's not the people. So it'd be one of those two, lakes or kingfishers.
Okay. Well, so you've been doing photography for a while.
Yeah.
If you were giving out your favourite photography tip,
Yep.
what would that be?
Slow down. And it doesn't matter what gear, because that's completely gear agnostic. I actually during the lockdowns last year before, I did like a 1 hour course for my colleagues at work, and just had to think through, okay, well, what are you gonna say to them? Because they go, oh, you can do great photos. I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, it's fine. And I went through and I went, actually, you know, the first thing to do is slow down. The second thing to do is, what story are you telling? If you can get your head around that, the rest of it, gear, you know, who gives a monkey's bum about gear?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can do it, because I was like, lots of them, you just had iPhones, and you're going, right, that's great, but if you've got, you know, 200 gigs worth of, oh, look at the photos I've taken, yeah, well, how many of them do you actually look at? How many do you care about? If you're just pressing the shutter going, I've got 50 photos, great, marvellous, what are you going to do with it? Just slow down, think about it, and yeah, go from there.
Interesting what you said about you having to help some workmates out, because that really, like, I think photography is a really organic thing, that everyone does it in their own way.
Yeah.
But when you have to come across and start telling people or helping people, it makes you think about what you do a lot more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And actually, that's one of the surprising things about vlogging, in terms of, so I'm an engineer, and I do a lot of client-facing work and stuff, and that's great. But actually, what vlogging has done is it's made my presentations a lot better, because I have to stand in front of a camera all the time anyway. All of a sudden, doing a presentation at work, well, that's easy. You know, it's just a few people in the room. You know, it's not some bloke going, can you get rid of the mind-numbing music off your video? Jeff off. But yeah, so there's benefit, and you're right, and I try very hard not to do tips, because there's 1,001 people out there can do that, and
Yeah.
I just don't. Look, I'm just amateur. I'm doing it for the creative release, not for, I want your pounds and pennies and everything else.
It's really interesting, because obviously I've spoken to a few guys because I've been doing this for a little while now, and a lot of what you're saying resonates with what they're saying. So it's a release, it's a creative release, and you kind of do it for you, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I like watching you and several other guys, because I know that, you know, there's a lot of people that, I've said this to a few people, but there's a lot of people who, you know, if another genre was more popular on YouTube and it was easy, they jump off of photography and onto that. Whereas I know that the guys like you who do it, you just do it because you love it.
Yeah, I enjoy taking photos, and that can be a kingfisher, it can be a hill, it could be a building. I just like that. It takes me out of my mind. It could sound a bit wrong, but my job is really process driven, and it's a lot about facilitating, collaborating, and it's not creative. It's about the process. It's about making sure that people who are spending billions of pounds get what they want at the end of the day and get the right thing. That's not creative. Whereas photography is, here's a camera, here's a lens. What can you make of it? And that's, yeah.
Yeah. So your channel's called Evolving Photons.
Yes.
Why? Just because I looked at that and gone, what? I don't understand.
Well, I was playing around with names, and it struck me that one of the things I try and do with my photography is I try and constantly learn and change and evolve. And I thought, well, actually, that's an interesting concept. And then images are just photons. They're just different wavelengths of photons captured somehow, be it on a piece of film, on a glass, on a piece of silicon that then goes into a storage mechanism, or all the rest of it. And I thought, well, photons are just an extension of photons. Oh, evolving photons. And it kind of, I just sat there and went, do you know, that's not the worst name you've ever come up with. It's better than I'm a stupid amateur photographer.
I was going to say, what is the worst name you've ever come up with?
Bumbling monkey face photographer.
Excellent.
Probably something like that.
That's a good one. If I'd have known that was about, I'd have used that one before for myself. So, all right. So, moving away from yourself for a minute.
Yeah.
What's your favourite YouTube channel in terms of photography? And
Right.
then, do you have any YouTube channels that are non-photography based that you enjoy?
I do. The one I in fairness, the one I do go back to all the time is Dave Griffiths. I just, having met Dave, he come as he is on video, he is in real life. He doesn't pull any punches. He's not trying to butter you up. So I do enjoy just sitting there listening to Dave, and now he's got the magazine style, and he'll, you know, that works really nicely. And on all the guys, all the guys on the Photography podcast, yeah, I like Alan Wallace, who does the Astro stuff. I enjoy that. Andy Maguire, when he was doing photography, I used to. There are very few I watch religiously, but those are kind of. I've now got kind of a small group that I will. If somebody pops up, I'll go, all right, I'll have a quick look.
Yeah.
But yeah, those tend to be the ones, to be perfectly honest. Non-photography, probably something like, what do I go back to regularly? Dark Skies, which and Mark Felton? They do a lot of military stuff, a lot of Second World War stuff.
Oh, okay,
So,
you're interested in that, yeah?
yeah, well, you're over East Anglia.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up in Suffolk during the Cold War. I remember like A10s going across the top of our house at like 100 foot, and I was just surrounded by the military. We had a guy who lived at the end of our garden who was Air Forceman.
Yeah.
So, and I've always been interested in that, and I wanted to be a pilot, and then I was asthmatic and short-sighted, and apparently pilots aren't asthmatic and short-sighted. Minor
bit
point.
of a drawback.
Yeah. So that was, you know, that's always been something I've really, really been interested in for a long time.
Do you know what? We used to have American Airmen on our estate in Peterborough,
Yeah.
where I used to live, and they were at Alconbury.
Yeah.
And then there's some at RAF Mildenhall as well.
Yeah.
And I ended up over at RAF Mildenhall. I think I can't remember what I was over there for, but I ended up on the airbase. And my God, it's like a little America. And this was going back sort of this. When was this? Must have been 87. And they had all these CDs that were just coming out over here. All of their stereos were different, so much better. The Michelob and Bud Light and Mountain Dew and all this drink that I'd never heard of. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being probably about 16, and we went and we never knew, but you could go. I think we went to Bentwaters, and you could actually play 10-pin bowling there. You could go onto the 10-pin bowling lanes.
Yeah.
You could, and it was a proper experience. It was like, that was great. And I remember going to like the Mildenhall Air Show in the 80s, and like having those calendars for years and years, and just seeing like a fly off between a Vulcan and a B-52, and the Vulcan kicked its ass, obviously, but all that sort of stuff, just that was with me, you know, since I was, you know, I can remember.
Moving on. I like this question. You might like it, you might not.
Go
I'm
on.
not sure. Okay, so you've been arrested.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're in the police station, and they give you one phone call, right?
Right.
And you can only call a photography vlogger to help you out, right? Who are you going to call, and why?
I'm going to call James. All right.
James Burns.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he's got such a dry sense of humour. He's going to make their life so miserable they're going to release me, because they're going to want him out of the police station as well.
Yep. Have you seen him on Twitter, James?
Only, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Oh my God, he's like the epitome of a troll. Like, he is terrible. He's brilliant, but he's terrible. He's so fun to watch. So James Burns, that's a good answer.
Yeah, because then they just want to arrest him and release me. You see.
Yeah, you can just sneak out while they're.
Yeah,
I like that plan. That's a good one. All right. Okay. So, what about you? If you could only go to one place ever again, or let's say you can only revisit one place, and also, is there one place for photography that you haven't visited yet that you really like to go to?
It's a difficult one. I've got two. One is the Suffolk coast around Shingle Street, because that's not only a beautiful coastline, it's part of my childhood. Minsmere and all those areas. But I think if I could only revisit one place, it would probably be Loweswater up in the lakes.
Okay.
Loweswater is my favourite place in the lakes. I know it's not the Langdale Pikes, and it's not all these lovely places that I see, but actually for me it's got something that's just like low fell, and that little bit has got something that no one else has got. It's not got the biggest peaks, but it's just got beautiful view down Crummock and Buttermere towards Haystacks, and it's got peace and quiet and tranquility. And I think for me that would be where I would quite happily just revisit.
That's great. I mean, like, everyone has their favourite little spot, and it's good to know that you haven't gone to the obvious one. When you're saying about Shingle Street though, in that little area, I love the coast, but my God, I find that so hard to photograph. So hard.
I hadn't been back for about 30 years until last year, and I saw Jill Moon work, and she's doing a lot of work over there, and obviously she did really well in landscape photography this year. And you see the images and you just go, oh, I knew there was a reason why I love that piece of coastline. It's the thing about East Anglia. It has the biggest horizons I think I've seen, apart from South Australia, which I mean has massive horizon, but East Anglia just has these great vistas of horizon that I don't think you get anywhere else in Britain.
No, it's because it's so flat, and because also the beach goes on forever. It doesn't drop off into the sea. It just sort of very slowly sort of descends, if you like, and that's why you get those huge skies. And it just like where's that place? Oh God, the place where everything's falling off the
Dunwich.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just a beautiful place, but I find it really hard to photograph because you've got to have skies to get the drama in the shot.
Yeah, yeah, and you've either got to be there really, really early in the morning, which is I'll do, but not willingly. Sunset, well, that's screwed. Or you've got to have a dramatic sky, and actually, if you can shoot kind of looking north up the coast, and you're somewhere like Dunwich where you've just got those little, you can see the little bit of Southwold and stuff, you kind of go, you know, that's a lovely, that's just that curve of the coast going away. Yeah.
So what about somewhere you'd like to go that you've never been? So if you could only go to one more place.
I think I'm going to go to Japan.
Okay.
Because I think it's something we've discussed for a number of years that we really want to do, but it's not, we haven't been able to do it so far. But I think there's a diversity of the changing culture. I'm working with loads of Japanese guys at the moment, and they're brilliant and lovely, and I just want to go and they're enjoying being over here, and I want to go and see what it's like over there.
Yeah.
I know the geology is so much different, but you get a wide range of it. The cherry blossom, all that sort of stuff. I think I just fascinating. So yeah, I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, Japan's not really somewhere I've ever considered, but I get what you're saying about the culture. I mean, it's really odd, actually, culture. I don't know, like, even if you go, like, I went to Greece on holiday for a couple of weeks, and I went to a few islands with my friend where there were no other Brits. Yeah. And you think, like, there were a lot of Australians and a lot of Americans, and you think you have a lot. You think that, you know, Australian Americans speak the language, they're going to be the same as us. Yeah, they're so not. The culture is such a thing. It's by the time I think that's about like 12 days in, and I was just craving another English person to speak to, you know, because I only had my mate and he was a nightmare. So, it was odd. I was just because even though you talk to them, they're so different, you know.
Yeah, but I love that. I love the idea. You know, just what do you know that I don't know? What can I learn from you?
All right then. So, tell us about your favourite piece of photography equipment. Your favourite that you've ever had.
Favourite I've ever had. Right. So I'm looking up because I've got loads of stuff on the shelves. I shoot Micro Four Thirds. If anybody's watched the channel, they'll know. And the first lens I got was the 40-150 2.8 because it was going to be my rugby camera, and I wanted something that was weather sealed, indestructible, and that thing is weather sealed and indestructible. The lens I probably love the most, and I use a lot more, is the Panasonic 200 2.8, which is it's probably one of the biggest Micro Four Thirds lenses, and I did do a vlog on it, and I just said it's one of probably the most underappreciated lenses because it's ridiculously priced, but secondhand it's got no value.
Oh, really?
I mean, the standard secondhand price is probably 40% of the starting price.
So hang on a minute. That in full frame terms, that's a 400mm f 2.8.
Yeah.
Wowzer.
1 second, I'll grab it.
Yeah, sure.
So this is it. So let me take the hood off. Okay. So that is it. And if I take the telly, so that's it. That's 400 2.8.
Wow, that's pretty small, isn't it?
And I can handhold that all day. So for wildlife, it's a godsend. It comes with a 1.4 teleconverter, so it goes to 300. Just about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the biggest hood you've ever seen. But,
well, that's probably because they feel embarrassed that it's so small.
I know. But you kind of go, if people want to know why I shoot Micro Four Thirds, this is the reason. Because I know you shoot Sony, you shoot full frame. But if I said to you, go and get a 400 2.8, one, you'd have to probably kill your family and collect on the insurance policy. And two, you'd then probably need a small manservant to carry it for you.
Exactly, absolutely.
And that's why I really enjoy this. It's a great size. And if I want to go out and do wildlife, crack on. I mean, I've used it for things like in the woodland, because you get such a thin field of depth at that. You know, you can isolate things and everything's just blown immediately out of kind of into a diffuse background. I'm just like, yeah.
Jamie loves 400mm for woodland. Jamie Overland. He whenever we go out, he's always got his long lens on for woodland because it, like you say, it isolates subjects out so well.
Yeah, and that's not. That. Don't get me wrong. I would never tell. Lots of vloggers are very, very good at telling other people how to spend their money, and I wouldn't do that because you don't know people's situations, and actually, you shouldn't get yourself into shit you can't get yourself out of. Excuse my French. And that lens is about £2,500 brand new.
Mm-hmm.
There's one on the market at the moment that's £999, including teleconverter. So as I say, it's less than 40% of the value, and it's one of the sharpest lenses that's ever been made. It's just like,
I was going to say for that aperture and that length, that's a hell of a deal. Even, be honest with you though, even £2,500 for a 400mm equivalent f2.8, you're not going to get close to that for full frame. Not even close.
Sony and Canon are 10 plus, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They've got to be.
But I mean, when I got this a couple of years ago, they'd taken a load. Park Cameras must have taken a load to the photography show, and afterwards they were knocking them out for 1,300, and then they knocked them out for 999, brand new. A couple of people had held them at the photography show, and you're going, right? That's ridiculous. That's just the most ridiculous price. You can't even be making any money on this. You're losing money, and because of that, the values just never come back in the second-hand market. And it's a lovely lens to use, and as I say, it comes with a teleconverter, which takes it.
Well, you're knocking 600mm, aren't you? Equivalent.
Not far off. Which is
Well, it's more than you need.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
More than you need. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, excellent. That's a really good answer. All right, then. So I'm going to make you feel, or give us the opposite now. What's the worst piece of photography equipment you've owned?
People aren't. I'll try and explain this because it's a really, really good lens. Canon 100-400 Mark II. Okay.
Is that the push-pull one, or is that?
No, that's the one after. Was not the push-pull.
Right. Okay.
I got that because I was shooting rugby, and I was shooting it on a 70-200 f4 with a 1.4 teleconverter, and I was getting great images. And the one time my photography went backwards was I went to a 100-400. I thought, brilliant, that'll give me a bit more range on the rugby field, and I'll get a bit tighter, all the rest of it. And my photos were crap. I couldn't. It was too heavy to follow the action. Yeah. And I got rid of it, and actually that's the reason I got rid of all my Canon stuff, because I'm going backwards, I'm not going forward. So in the end, all the Canon stuff went. I got a Fuji for the landscape, and I got Olympus for the action and the wildlife, and then I got hold of this, and the Fuji went. And I just went, oh screw it, I'll just go all Olympus. And yeah,
it seems that Micro Four Thirds is becoming incredibly popular. I've got to say, a lot of people are jumping off of the full frame, partly because of the weight, but I think as well because Micro Four Thirds, the Panasonic and the Olympus, they are leaps and bounds now. They're really improving on their, their sort of focusing. And what Olympus do you have? Is it the OM?
I've got no, I haven't got an OM1 yet.
Okay.
I can't get away with that. The wife might watch this. I've just had to get a new MacBook because I've got to give my old MacBook to my son. I've got an EM1 Mark III, and I've also got an EM5 Mark III that's meant to be my daughter's, but she's never going to use it, so snooze you lose. And I'll have that for a couple of years. But I think there's a lot of photographers now who are getting older. You'll see a lot of them once they get 60 plus, and they've been lugging around, a 600mm lens or a 400 to full frame, and they suddenly pick this up and they go, what the? That's why I think a lot of them are going across. I think you're right. I think if if Panasonic is very much focusing on the video side, then Olympus is very much focusing on the still side. I think that yes, there's hybrid, but ignore that for the time being. The Micro Four Thirds lenses are very sharp. They're very compact, very small, and we stray into, and you know what's coming, megapixels and gigapixels, and oh, look at all these pixels you've got. Balls to it. There is not a mainstream camera on the market now that is not good enough. They are all good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the thing, though. I think we reached a point, I'm not sure, a few years back, where you're starting to just split hairs with cameras.
Yeah.
And they can't, it's like they can't sell you a better, slightly better focusing system. But we've got to a point where their cameras are fantastic. So now the only way they can go is either promote the video qualities of it or push the megapixels. And so people they're trying to convince people you need 40, 50, 60 megapixels. And I'll be honest, if you're cropping your image in heavily, then the megapixels are an advantage. But you don't need them. That's just their selling point now, because they've got to a point where, the cameras are so good, really.
The cameras are so good. The market is shrinking. I wonder how much they're using YouTube to drive you know how iPhones used to be, you need a new iPhone every year. They're kind of going down that line of you've got to have this new latest thing. And actually, the minute you can break that cycle, you kind of realise that, no, I don't. I don't need that latest camera. It's not, if I want to do an 80 megapixel shot, I'll put it on a tripod and put it into high res mode. Job done. Or I'll just stick it into Lightroom and use Enhance.
Or shoot a pano.
There are ways around all of this, and it's how quickly you can get off that treadmill, and just enjoy what you've got. And if you're going to shoot wildlife and you've got one lens and it's a long reach, crack on.
I'll be honest with you, if all my photography was just landscape, I would be absolutely delighted to still have my 5D Mark III.
Yeah,
because that camera for me was just brilliant, and that's 10-year-old camera now.
Yeah,
but you could take absolutely perfect landscape photography shots on that camera. Probably a 5D Mark II, in fact.
Yeah, and I think people, they do get wrapped up, and I'm going to hold my hand up here and say, yeah, I've been there, and it's probably only in the last year I've gone, no, I've got everything. There's nothing I need. If
you could go back, I mean, I know you haven't been doing it long, but if you could go back to the start of you doing a YouTube channel, is there anything that you know now that would have made you do things differently?
I probably would have put more thought, because I haven't worked out what I am. So I've quite liked putting out really short videos where I don't speak. There's just a bit of video, some pictures, maybe some captions. It's like 2 minutes. I'd quite like to doing that. But then, I did the Kingfisher one where I did a bit of got some B-roll and you got some nice shots. Then you've got me going, hello. But I haven't worked out who I am. So maybe think a bit more about who I am. Maybe I should have done some test runs before I went fire and forget. Would have been a thing to have done. But you are where you are.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is probably going to sound like a broken record, because if this comes out and other ones have come out, you got to be yourself. Simple as that. If you try and be someone you're not, eventually the mask will slip and then you'll lose your authenticity. So you just need to be yourself.
And as I say, I just like taking photos.
Social media.
Yep.
Blessing or curse, and why?
Yes.
Yes. Is that just yes?
Because.
Well, which one? Blessing or curse?
It's a coin. Okay.
Okay.
It's a curse because fundamentally I think it is potentially sociologically and physiologically damaging human communications. Because I have a theory that we were designed to live in units of maybe no more than 1,000. That I reckon you can know about 1,000 people in your head. So people in your village, people, you know, you talk to Darren or whoever, you know them to varying degrees. It's a bit of an onion skin, but I reckon it's about 1,000. And now you can know millions, whether you want to or not. But it's not a human communication. It's not sitting there like we are. I mean, we're on Zoom, but we are having a conversation. If I go to you, Gary, do you know what? Kit Kats are the best chocolate ever because they're completely recyclable. And you'll go, oh, what? What are you talking about? If you do that on social media, it's like, or, oh yeah, that's the best thing ever, you're completely right.
Yeah.
And there's no, and I think we spoke about this, about the limbic system, the lizard brain. There's no need to control it on social media. If your limbic system fires off to protect you, that's fine. And you can see that spilling into society where people don't have the ability just to stop and go, actually, I don't want to say this, or I don't want to act like this. I need to be more human. So I think that's the negative side. And also, you know too much now. There are no, when you and I growing up, there were mysteries.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
The library was a mystery. What are you going to learn in the library? Wow. You know, we had Encyclopedia Britannica, and you'd open a volume up and go, I've never read this page before. What the hell's on this page? Now, like that, you can have everything, which means it's expected instantaneously. So if you get a text and you don't respond instantaneously, why have you not responded to my text instantaneously? I'm driving the car. I'm trying to concentrate on driving, you know. So on the positive, you can find anything. You can find community of people who are like you in a good and a bad way. So you can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you can be an echo chamber of your own anger. But at the same time, you can meet great people who go, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've always thought candy floss was a bit weird as well. You go, oh, do you? Yeah, I once got attacked by a man in candy floss. Oh, right, okay. And you can have these weird conversations sometimes, but it's great.
That is a weird conversation to have.
That is.
I'm just putting it out there.
You're now singing to my brain.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get to know people before you meet them. You kind of make a judgment, and you can't hide everything forever on the internet, because eventually the mask will slip, as you say. But you can kind of judge and go, actually, do you know what? This group of people I think are going to be quite good. And they are. Oh, that's fantastic. And all the photos you can see now, and people say, oh, it's devaluing photography. So valuing photography was having loads of photo albums you never looked through and you put in your loft, was it? You know, was that a good thing? No, nobody showed their photos off in the 70s. Nobody printed them and put them on their walls. So. Right. So we're in a different space, but I think that's a good thing, that if you want to, you can make connections, you can make bonds, you can learn things.
Anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up there. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much. I will say that if you want to catch Justyn's channel, I'm going to put a link in the description below. And please go check him out. Go check out all the guys that I talk to, because they're really good bunch of people who deserve more views. So thank you so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed that, actually. That was a cool conversation. So, and we will see you all another time. Thank you. Goodbye.